Welcome to Crafting for Profit Live, episode 16. And we are live from the Printing United show floor for this episode. And this episode is going to be a little bit different. We are not going to exactly stream live on YouTube. We're not going to cut this. It is going to be live. But because of the Wi-Fi here, it is going to just be a video on YouTube. But we are going to be chatting along with you in the comment section. So if you're joining us on YouTube, feel free to chat away and ask any questions that you have.
Today we are joined by Patrick from Siser, who will be chatting with us about some of the exciting new products that we've seen here at Printing United. He's also going to tell us a little bit about some of the new products that he has coming out with Siser. And can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much, first of all, for letting us, obviously be on the podcast and show what we have here at Siser. So hi, everybody. My name is Patrick Ali. I'm the lead educator and also the video production manager for Siser North America. I work really, really closely with an awesome team in our marketing team to create educational content across the industry, and then product development and the Romeo and the Juliet. So, yeah.
So if you do not know what Printing United is, it is this huge trade show, and we are in Vegas, and it is all the printing technology. There are crafting companies here, so there is stuff from everything from small business type of things to the at-home crafter to huge machines that print signs, billboards, so all kinds of technological innovations here.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with a few industry trends type of questions.
Nice.
So let's start out talking about what are some of the things that have caught all three of our attention as we've been kind of walking around and just seeing what's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the cool part about the industry, and especially about the Printing United show overall, is it's really a global outreach show. So there's people from all over the world here, not only showing really large format equipment, but also all the way down to financing some of this equipment. So you get a really eclectic group of people and companies that all kind of work together. There's a lot of really cool technology on the floor, especially with some of the UV DTF that we're seeing kind of pop up, and some of the new DTF technology that's out there as well, and then even some of the more eco-friendly products that we're promoting. So it's been a really cool show to see, and this year is massive compared to other years.
I don't feel like I can accurately explain the size of these buildings. It took us, 10 minutes to drive by golf cart from one to the other. Underneath this building, there is a giant loop of Teslas driving people from building to building. It's staggering how many businesses are
and
here.
If you haven't experienced the Printing United trade show, it really is, the convention hall itself is really a few city blocks size. I mean, it's a massive convention to where you kind of drive up on the back side, and then by the time you get to the front side, you think you're in a whole nother town, and you're realize, I'm still in the same building. So it's a huge show, but it showcases all of this large format equipment extremely well. It allows for people to be more spread out and open, where you're not restricted to a smaller show, where it's a little bit harder to communicate, talk to people, because there's so much hustle and bustle, on the trade show floor. Yeah.
And so here we have, there's printers, lasers, HTV, like you were saying, there's all these things. So I am also seeing DTF as a huge trend still. It's huge here. Yeah. And then, like you were saying, the eco-friendly stuff. I feel like that's a trend that we're going to see.
It definitely seems like right now, and we were lucky at Siser to kind of set the foundation or kind of drive the catalyst for, kind of forcing, I don't want to say force, but challenging the heat transfer material manufacturers out there to not think about it as vinyl anymore, right? Back in the 80s and 90s, this stuff was plastic that we put on our shirt. We all know this. But as we started progressing through the early 2000s, this became polyurethane-based and water-based. And so with the technology becoming more greener, it allowed for the manufacturing of the product to become more green. So perfect example, I got to do a quick little thing this morning with All Made, right? So they have an organic cotton t-shirt. We were able to use our all-new Pure HT, which is 100% compostable material. And that just brings now a different take to the industry. It's allowing people now that, because we all live that organic lifestyle, but we don't live organically, right? That's how we all feel the same way. So with that, actually having a product that is tested, tried, and true, and you can believe in, really is important for us. Yeah.
I think another one of the things that isn't necessarily eco-friendly, but it feels eco-friendly, is the color of the apparel that I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
It is very natural.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of, tans and greens and grays, and it feels like there's this huge trend in all of these shades of these nude shades. So if you walk into some of these apparel booths and you're used to seeing a huge array of colors, instead now you're seeing a lot of these neutrals. That's the word I'm
I call it the earth tone rainbow now.
Earth tone rainbow.
The earth tone rainbow is what it is. Yep. And it's awesome to see too. I've recently started going to more of the natural tones on some of the apparel that I wear too. But it's just in general, like, you know, when the comfort colors first came out, we kind of knew there's going to be some type of shift in the way that the Pantone color of a shirt was looked at. And now that we have a lot of these new earth tones coming out, it's a really cool thing to see. And I think people are reverting back to keeping these products more sustainable, more eco-friendly, and just kind of driving more of a positive message. Because, you know, there's a lot of technology that's out on the floor right now, and we can be very honest as a manufacturer to say, like, you know, DTF is a great technology, but the white ink still isn't certified, so it still isn't the greatest for you in that environment. Or there's a lot of things you have to do sometimes in those environments to make sure it's safe for yourself. We got to talk the other night a little bit about my solutions for some of those, which are, you know, they might be a little rigged up, but it's fine, they work for me. But with that, I think people are starting to believe in understanding that those natural earth tones kind of give you still that same feeling that those bright, vibrant colors did. And a lot of people are going to more of the matte style colors now, which I absolutely love, because, I mean, I'm not a shiny, but I got 2 cheerleaders for daughters, so I try to keep some of the shine away when I can dress up every once in a while, so.
That makes sense. I feel like obviously DTF is huge here. It was apparently last year. We weren't here last year. But we're also seeing like just beyond DTF as far as DTF processes go. So there are all sorts of, we were in the Forever paper booth.
Yes.
And they make the white toner paper that Angie and I use with our Creo machines, but they also make DTF mediums. And they have glitter. It's just like new things that are coming out that I think are really, really fun for DTF, because you're like, yes, I can get a full color image. Great. And it's awesome. And people get DTF transfers, but there's like, we're taking like DTF to like another level.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
Absolutely, for sure.
All right, do we want to talk about like the things we're seeing for small businesses here a little bit? Because I feel like a lot of the things here are for those large, I mean, you were talking, there are probably $1 million machines that are on this
perfect
show
example.
floor.
Cornette in their booth, one of their machines is like $1.2 million, and they will probably sell 2 of them at the show or 3 of them at the show, which is, it's wild to me that people can scale their businesses that big, but it starts with a foundation, right? All at Printing United or at any of these trade shows, you get into even the home office and small business, and the cool part is the solution is not just in the technology or the materials. There's a ton of booths around here that offer financing options for you. So you can go into the Geneva booth, for example, and you can get financing for a large piece of equipment. The awesome part is there's people here that are teaching you about how to schedule your taxes, write up an LLC. They're trying to help you to start the foundation for your business, and it really starts in a place like this.
I feel like some of the things I've seen, we are seeing those smaller DTF machines, which we still have questions about whether or not they're safe to be used in people's homes. This is things that we want to make sure we're talking about still. But we have seen quite a few, like, they're making those machines a little bit smaller, because I think they were realizing that, you know, the crafter audience is starting to be like, okay, maybe something new. We've seen, what else have we seen?
I feel like the direct-to-garment, which is a DTG printer, and Epson has a small one now that they're coming out with, where you can print directly onto things. So I'm kind of excited about that. I always thought that DTG would always be out of my price range and never be able to fit in my house, because those printers are huge. So I'm kind of excited to see those get a little smaller.
Anything that you can bring from the large format scale down to that smaller unit, and that was part of our mission too, with even the Romeo and Juliet cutters, right? It was like, we have all of these larger pieces of cutting equipment out there, and we have a lot of craft style cutters, but how do we bridge the gap between like the craft and the big business? And it's like, you can still have a lot of that really incredible technology in a smaller package and deliver that to the audience. So I've seen a lot of those here, and it's interesting to see, and I'm curious to know where it goes in the future, because as we've seen with DTF, it was, you know, at first it's the Wild West out there. Everybody's just trying to figure out how to make a unit, try to figure out the inks and everything. And now that it's started to kind of become more of a normalcy and people are figuring out that process, it seems like the next step is how do we shrink down that technology to offer to the at-home solution.
I feel like there's also some lasers that we've been seeing. X-Tool, always a favorite here. They have their new machines. They actually just announced, like, we got the email this morning about the X-Tool PS2. That's very exciting. We chatted for quite a while this morning with Flux. They're over in the other hall, and just some of, I mean, I hadn't really checked out their lasers before, but man, there's some different and really amazing features there. And I mean, I keep saying, like, every laser is different. There's no perfect laser for what you need to do, but I think because we have these laser companies sort of competing against each other, the innovation is like leaps and bounds. I mean, every time I'm like, I never would have thought of that, or this solves that problem. And I think that's really great.
And that started with shows like this, where again, and I know we keep talking about it, but it really is true. It's like you go to a show like this and you find these larger format pieces of equipment, and then these companies come in and they say, well, what about me? What about somebody that is working, like myself, I work in my basement. You guys have your studios at home. It's a place where you can be able to accomplish your goals of becoming an entrepreneur, a business owner, but then you're not stuck with so much of that overhead for your revenue of a place to actually house your equipment, of how to run your equipment properly. Just the electricity alone in a new suite in a location that's not your house, I'd rather just, I'll tack a couple bucks on my electrical bill if I need to. But yeah, it's been really cool to see even some of the laser units that are out. I saw the actual email this morning and saw their IG post, and I'm really excited to see that because we have so many laser-friendly materials that it's really cool to now see those things becoming more popular, so we can really start, delivering that to the audience as well.
Yeah, that's something that you don't see a lot, but a lot of these lasers can cut laser-safe iron-on, HDB, those materials, and they cut them well. Yeah. And it's, you can do a cut, all the way cut through, too, and there's no weeding.
And that's the thing, it's like, that's the reason why companies like DTF and DTG and, the super colors out there do such an incredible job, because it was about print on demand. Well, now with a laser unit and heat transfer vinyl, I can just laser out all of my cavities, and actually, I don't really need to. I can do more of a kiss cut kind of just on the surface and already pre-weed my material. So now I can have POD or a full production shop just using heat transfer material, or I can go the route of a DTF or DTG. So yeah, it's really exciting to see what the future holds there. I'm excited.
Yeah, we just did an episode on building your business with HDB.
Yeah,
so.
nice.
We're there.
I love it.
Okay, so we have all of this technology.
Yes.
I mean, I've had such a good time, but I am also completely overwhelmed. Angie and I have to sit down and be like, okay, here's all the people we talk to, here's how we might collaborate, or what we might want to do with these companies. So if somebody's running a small business and they're like, I have to keep up with all the technology and all the things that we're doing. All the acronyms.
All the acronyms.
So many acronyms. How would a small business sort of kind of keep up?
Yeah, well, first off, I just have to say, because everybody wasn't there yesterday to experience our golf night, but I watched you two and the team sit down in the chairs and go, that was a long day. Yeah. And so we know that these types of environments are massive places with a lot of things, but just where you're starting at is getting into a local show somewhere. Finding a smaller show that you can kind of see a lot of things in one environment. Printing United is one of those fun shows. It's always in a destination, so if you want to go out to Vegas or California or whatever it is, you can still have a little bit of vacation time out there. But really, when you're starting your business out, it's just about the connections. I find that the connections and the education that you can receive from people, like if you go to the Siser booth or the M&R booth or wherever you may go to try and see a new technology or new process, it's really about making those connections with those folks. Because us at Siser, we love when people come over to the booth and talk to us, and obviously they've seen video content and things like that, but they're also asking a lot of relevant questions because they don't know where to start. And so I always tell people, I say, first of all, find your hobby and turn the hobby into your craft, and then take the craft and make that your business. Because the problem is a lot of people want to start with like, oh, well, this print on demand this is my thing. Well, maybe sublimatable tumblers is what you're really into, or maybe epoxy tumblers, or maybe heat transfer and making your own branded apparel is really what you're into. It's finding your hobby, turning it to craft, then going into the business. Kind of like crafting for profit. I don't know.
We are always talking about finding your niche.
Yeah, that's it.
I think with this sort of place, it's very overwhelming. And for me and Angie, it's a little bit different because we educate. And so, I mean,
you definitely look at it through a different lens.
Yeah, we're looking at it. So we're like, how many machines can we talk about? How many different processes can we talk about? And because we have more knowledge now that we've been doing this a while, it's a little bit easier for us to keep it in our brains. But I'm not expecting the average crafter or the average small business to come in here and think, I have to be doing it all.
Exactly, and as somebody that's starting out brand new in business, that's why I always say find your hobby first, because it's really boring to get into something that eventually you don't want to do anymore, right? And so if you start your business and I'm just throwing out stuff, so anybody out there, don't yell at me, but let's say you start out your business in embroidery, but that's not like your hobby, you're not doing it for fun kind of already. Start building that brand and start building that revenue with something that you are doing regularly, and then move into other technologies. Because again, like we said, all these pieces of equipment are also expensive. So if you want to get into print on demand and get yourself, a 10-head screen print machine, you're talking about thousands versus the hundreds it might be to go to Michael's or Joann's or somewhere, get a tumbler, throw some adhesive on it, sell those to then start building your business into the next level. Yeah.
And you have to find that passion almost.
Yeah.
Like the passion for whatever you're making.
Yeah.
because like no one wants to craft for a living and not enjoy it.
Yeah.
Finding it passionate.
Yeah, and I find people just try to jump into things too because it's fun, right? I can look at a Siser piece of material. I can look at the Romeo and the Juliet. I'll call us out now. I can look at the Romeo and the Juliet and I can say, hey, I want that piece of technology. However, I may not be ready for that yet in my business, and to spend, even $700, or what we're so happy with the Juliet being $399 and very competitive with the craft machines, but being robust enough for the professional arena, it's like it might not be the best idea for you to jump in right away. Maybe start small and then start gaining traction, start getting yourself revenue, which will then, again, it's all about leveling up and hitting those speed bumps along the way at the appropriate times. People want their businesses to be million-dollar businesses right away. Unfortunately, that's not something that happens, right? It takes time, but it also takes a lot of dedication because most of us start out with regular jobs. We start out with 9-to-5s, and then we're crafting on the side. So that's why I say there's always that hierarchy or that turning point where like the craft becomes something that's making you a little bit more revenue than maybe the job is. And a lot of people also, that's a big fear. They don't want to pull the trigger and just jump in. And it's like when you know the time is right, and you never really know, right? But when you realize that the income from one is starting to kind of surpass the income from another, it might mean that you have found your niche. And that means that it's time now to take a step back and just expand that. Expand on that part of the business, let that grow, and then again, getting into other technologies. But these are the perfect places to learn. And then also from people like us, right? People watch us online all the time that we're talking about new things that are coming out or maybe new technologies that are around. And it really is important for them to get that education. So it starts really with coming to a show, being educated, then being able to scale yourself that way. Yeah.
I mean, I can talk about that from experience just a little bit because, I mean, like I've said here on the podcast, that I've started this little side hustle, kind of trying to practice what we preach here. So right now I'm selling several things, but one of the things I've been selling is stickers.
Yeah.
And those stickers are doing way better than I expected. I mean, they're doing really well. And so what am I doing here? I'm actually looking for a sticker printer cutter.
That's it, yeah.
So because I'm getting them printed locally, which is a great place to start. I'm doing the design myself.
But you're ready. You're ready to take that next step.
I'm like, that next step is really scary.
It is. It's very scary.
I'm going from like, okay, I'm going to buy a couple $100 stickers to this machine costs several $1,000s, but it will print and cut my stickers for me, which means I can do smaller runs. I can try things out. I can do I'm not going to be out of something because I have to wait for my sticker manufacturer to make stickers. So it's one of those things that I sort of experienced it myself here as a maker versus as somebody who's just coming to look at the different technology.
And that's awesome.
Like, I think it's time to take that to the next level, and that next level is scary. But
and that's the hard part, right? Because it's at the end of the day, it's dollars and cents, and we're not in I'll go back to the pandemic, even though we're not in a pandemic time where people are getting free money to then invest into their own self, and that's what we noticed in our world. The craft industry exploded during the pandemic because people were at home. Some people were getting free money, so they were spending it not as frugally as maybe we should be, but they were wanting to become their own boss. You were just in an environment where you were working a 9-to-5 in an office space, as I work a 9-to-5, but still, you're working a 9-to-5 in an office space, and maybe it isn't, again, your passion or what you wanted to do. It's just, hey, this is my job for now, and then I have this side hustle. It's really scary to say, I'm going to spend $2,000 on a printer, or I'm going to spend, $16,000 on a large format printer to automate my process. But you realize, if it's there, it's time. And even though once you start getting nervous, I feel like that's when you know. It's like when you start getting nervous about it, you're like, okay, I don't know if this is going to work. It's like coming up here. I'm nervous about, talking to you guys, and then when we get into it, it's like, we're just back at the golf place, from yesterday. So you have to believe in yourself. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice I could give to somebody brand new, whether you're fresh and you've never touched a piece of software before, or you are now trying to level up. It's trust your gut. Just trust yourself. Because if it doesn't work out at the end of the day, there's always something to utilize that for, or being able to expand on to the next thing, right? So.
And another thing, a show like this is perfect
if
you are thinking about investing in something because all the manufacturers are here, and you can go test this printer and test that one. So if you were thinking about making this investment in a sticker printer, for example, getting to try them all, put your hands on them, all in one spot, can be invaluable.
Yeah,
so
I had my eye on one printer. I was like, that's probably the printer I'm going to get. And I had mentioned it to Creo, actually, and they were like, no. I want to show you this other one, which literally came out like 2 days ago. And I probably would have purchased the other one unless I had walked past the one I'm going to get. I think it was it's smaller. It does, it's much better for an at-home crafter. And so hopefully I'll be able to be doing videos on this one at some point. But I wouldn't have known that had I just been on Roland's website, for example.
Yep.
I would never have really seen what I got to see here.
Yeah, and you can follow everybody that you want in the world, but it is a lot of people save. Like, perfect example, GPX in North Carolina was where we launched the Juliet locally in the States. You wouldn't have gotten to see that launch if you weren't at that show and then saw obviously the media attention afterwards. But it's really, a lot of companies, they reserve that for the big shows where they're like, we're going to hold on to this even if it's for another 6 months. We'll let this thing sit on the shelf because we want to show it at the biggest platform that we possibly can, because you get the most exposure. There's the most influencers, brand partners, and brand awareness people here. There's the most media here at these shows. So why not put it in front of people and get into their algorithm quick, but on a massive scale like this? Yeah.
And we should say most of these events, I think, are free to attend for regular people. Like, obviously, you paid for your booth, but like Angie and I did not pay to come. We just were like on our tickets.
Siser was posting codes.
And that's the thing. It's like a lot of us too in companies. That's the other reason why not only learning from the company and following them and watching them, but also interacting and engaging with us, is that we send out a free code for the Printing United, for all the major shows of the year, where you can get free registration. And there's a lot of booths. We all get the ability to give out free codes. So if you are following some of your favorite companies, always look, because they're always posting, here's free registration. So now you're not even paying for the show. You get a fun vacation because it's always in a great location, especially when it's wintertime in Michigan. I love going to the West Coast. But then you also have the ability to talk to those people that you follow. We have so many people, and you guys get it all the time, where it's like, oh, I've watched your videos. I watch you all the time. I know Roseanne's out there watching us right now. But with that, it's like you watch us all the time, but now getting to meet us in person and getting to have that one-on-one education too, it just helps to solidify in your brain why it's time to take that next step, right?
Yeah,
so,
definitely. Okay, do we want to talk about Siser products now?
Let's do it.
Okay, so what is new with Siser?
Yes.
And we're going to talk about this HTV some more, so go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. So we are going away, I'm glad you said, we are going away from the HTV. The vinyl is bad for us now. Vinyl is plastic, so it's HT or HTM, and that was one of the catalysts that helped set that foundation for us, was the all-new, fully compostable Pure HT. And what that Pure HT, it was an incredible process for us, but it was 5 years that we were working with a college in Italy, that we were working with them to develop this product. And so the actual material itself, the skin, breaks down into the ground in under 180 days. And like I said on our live when we launched it, there's a big difference between biodegradable versus compostable. Biodegradable breaks down, but could leave bad things into the environment, whereas a compostable is leaving no bad environmental problems, right? I'm just saying it that way. I'm trying to think of the word in my head after 3 days of a show. But it literally renders the product completely gone in under 180 days if you're putting it in a compostable environment. Now the cool part about that is if you're doing your normal wash and dry at home, it doesn't break down. And that's awesome because it needs those microorganisms. So that technology kind of set the catalyst for us to say, hey, it's now HT, it's heat transfer. It's just heat transfer material. We've gone away from the heat transfer vinyl at the show, and we're really proud of that because we are the first to officially launch something like this and create a product at this caliber. So we're really excited. We went on back order very quickly, so I'm pumped about it. It means that we did our job good. Yeah.
I think about Bella Canvas came out with their fully recycled tea, their EcoMax tea.
Yeah.
And I feel like the EcoMax tea plus the Pure HT is like the perfect combination, right?
Yeah, shout out to Wes, by the way.
Yes, shout out to Wes.
Shout out to Wes.
Thanks for breakfast together.
Yeah, for sure. And that's it. Yeah, that's it. And it was just about, and I was just talking to Ryan over at Allmade this morning. We were talking and doing a quick video on the Allmade teas, which also have a organic recyclable cotton in them. And one of the cool parts about the Pure HT is we noticed that all of these people came out of the woodwork. And it wasn't just shirt manufacturers. It became DTF people were coming out of the woodwork. People that were doing other sources of technology that, again, not that everything is bad for us, but we know that you gotta have ventilation. You can't be running these things at high temps for a long time. So when we came out with that, it shifted the industry a little bit, I felt like. I really felt that after the launch that people started becoming more curious about organic. And like we said, we all say we live an organic lifestyle and 90% of it actually isn't, but now this is just one reason why you can say that not only do you get all the certifications at Siser on all of our other products, but now you have that one extra step that that this thing is safe for you, it's safe for the environment, it's safe for everybody. That's why we think of the kid first, right? It's safe for a kid, that's what we want. Yeah.
And then you can recycle the carrier sheet, right?
Yes, so that's actually something that's great. So hot take on this on the podcast right now. or breaking news, all of our materials, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, our skin and carrier for most of our materials, actually all of them, other than I think one, is 100% recyclable. So I always say though, caveat, check with your local municipality, always want to make sure. But yeah, they're 100% recyclable. So we've already had the eco-friendly messaging there, it's just now we took it one step further to give you something that truly, truly can create a non-negative impact or positive impact on the environment. So I plan on planting my garden next year with beer. So I was going to do a video on it where I'm just putting it in the dirt and just letting it grow. And if I can eat the apple or I can eat the strawberries or whatever from there, then I'm good to go. So verdict's out a year from now.
I think too, a lot of people think, I mean, for me, HT,
yeah.
HTV,
yeah,
HT,
yeah.
I like this.
It takes a second though. Yeah, we're so used to it.
Sometimes I feel like it feels like a wasteful craft.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because you have all this material you've weeded out, you have the carrier sheet, you have, all these pieces. And we compost at our house, and so it's not one of those like long composting things where like in 3 years this is going to break down. Now I'm going to be like, I can just throw this in our compost bins. And we live in Washington. It's not like things compost quickly where we are, but it should break down in our.
That's awesome, and that was a big part of the messaging that we ended up getting after the fact. Is there were a lot of people we didn't even realize, and actually, funny enough, Anna, who was afraid to be on camera, call her out. But Anna and I have talked about it too. We had the thought in our head early on when Pure HT was coming that we didn't even know how many people actually composted or how many people actually did these things. So we had a ton of people reach out to us about it after the fact and letting us know that they were so thankful that they had now a material that they could, not have to throw in the garbage and then it's going to a landfill somewhere. So yeah, and we're hoping, we hope that sets a catalyst for the rest of our material. I think Siser's taking a new approach in 25. 25 now. We're in 24, right? Yeah, 25. We're taking a new approach to hopefully expand that onto more of our products too. So.
When we were in the other hall this morning, I also passed a booth. I did not stop by because we were like walking through. We had not been to the entire other booth or the entire other hall until this morning.
Halls.
2 enormous halls. The other one, we decided this is the party hall where we are here. This is much more fun. We went in there and we're like, wow, this is a lot of suits. A lot of dudes in polo shirts. Or really like more huge office equipment, those sorts of things. But one of the things I did see over there was a big booth for a manufacturer who is working on more sustainable, more eco-friendly inks.
Yes.
And I passed right by there and I was like, I don't have time to stop. However, it's nice to see, well, maybe if we're talking about DTF printing, maybe those inks over time will become more sustainable and, better for the environment and all these things. And I think as an industry and with, how hot was it here in, Vegas has been extremely hot while we were here, and we're getting wildfire.
No, it's been like, 40, 45 degrees? It's snowing out? No, it's hot.
And we're getting wildfire smoke, right?
Yeah.
So, the effects of the climate are very apparent here.
Yeah.
And so I think anything that we as a printing industry can do, or even as a crafting industry, I mean, obviously these are just small steps that we do as individuals. Yeah. But I think if the whole industry can kind of
it's about the challenge. That's it. It's just challenge the industry to change. I mean, here's the thing. I talk for a living. We know this, right? I do a lot of video content. I've done a lot at the show, but my voice isn't only hoarse because of the fact that I talk so much, which Anna would probably disagree with. But a lot of it is because of the chemicals that are in the air in this show environment. A lot of people at a lot of booths, even on day 2, they're starting to become hoarse. They're losing their voice. And so we're hoping that with the Pure HT messaging, and again, we have a bunch of brand partners, so I can't divulge who, but there are people in the DTF world that are focusing on that right now, and I've gotten a lot of great information on it, but we just wanted to challenge the industry to do better, take it one step further, and try to figure out how to keep everybody safe. At Siser, we've always certified our products with CPSIA compliant, which just renders it safe for children, OEKO-TEX approved, standard 100. We're also an international company, so a lot of our certifications in Italy and France are very, very, very stringent. Even the way that we wash test our materials have to be on high temp and high dryers, much like a lot of the major brands that, just do it, I'll throw that out. A lot of the major brands, they force you to test that way, and they say it has to pass that because we can't put it on our brand if it's going to fail for somebody. So we take the same approach, but now it's just challenging in the actual chemical compound and what happens to this material after you're done using it, because you're right, it is wasteful. It is. I mean, heat transfer vinyl, most people that start out grab a 12 by 12 sheet, they cut a small little piece out, and then the rest of the sheet you'll never see again. Yep. or they will do one sheet of material and then that plastic carrier goes into the trash, and then the rest of the material goes right into the trash. Instead of figuring out new ways to recycle at home, we're just hoping that we make it more of a consistent habit for the industry too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, composting it, it's easier
Yeah.
than recycling it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, just put it in my compost bin.
So easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will say though, one funny story is that we did a video, obviously for the Pure HD. Patrick was in charge of getting the compost. Patrick was also probably in charge of getting rid of the compost after. Patrick didn't for a couple of days, and now the studio has fruit flies all over it. So, but that was okay. We were fine. We figured out a solution to seal up the compost.
Compost
But
at the worst.
Patrick, it was just maybe my first couple of times actually trying to compost. So I was like leaving the top open, and just, it was bad. It was bad. But we got through it, and we did what we set out to do anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. Anything else new at the show?
Yeah, so we are showing some new ways to create things. So one of the big things that we're showing at this, that here over at the booth too, and if you're at Printing United, you can always find the Siser booth. We have two massive arches that you can't miss it. So one of the big things we're showing too, and I want to give a big shout out to Cortez, who's one of our graphic designers. You guys saw obviously the design he made last night. A lot of the new technology, or not technology, but a lot of the new designs are coming from him and the rest of our graphic design team back home at SNA. And so we're showing the mesh. And what we really, really love about that mesh effect is that once you're done applying all of your layers of your heat transfer material, you can throw just a piece of fabric mesh, or what I found really well to work is like screen door replacement screen.
Or tools.
Yep. And then lay it down on top, heat apply that for about 10 seconds, and you get a really, really rich effect. And it looks awesome.
It's very sporty. It looks like a
Yes.
basketball.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was talking to Anna yesterday, I think, and I was like, it never occurred to me to like sort of deboss.
Yeah. Something.
HTV.
Yeah.
HT. I'm gonna get it right.
That's all right. That's all right.
I'm gonna get
HT.
there.
It'll get there.
And it like blew my mind.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool.
And then last year, Anna and I have kind of tried to take things up a notch with designs and things. So last year or the year before that, I can't remember exactly when, Anna was having these ideas of like, she's seeing these neon sign things. There's a way that we should be able to create this. And I started seeing a bunch of stuff in my algorithm as she's talking 2 feet away from my phone of all of like the street spray painters, the graffiti artists that are doing really cool neon effect. And what was really awesome for me in that is that I got to see each layer being put down. So you get now to see the breakdown. So Anna, she did an incredible job creating a design and then breaking that down. And we were able to like really kind of deconstruct what that neon effect looks like. So we did a video on it. It's over on YouTube. You can watch it at Siser North America. But it's basically creating a faux neon effect out of using heat transfer materials. And you guys got to see the tape effect. We're taking it one step further, and it really is our graphic artists that are really pushing the limits and challenging us too. Because you remember, like Anna and I have been doing this for a long time at Siser, and like with a newer team of graphic artists that, well, not newer, but with a team of graphic artists that came in green to what heat transfer materials maybe were, or how you could display it, they've taken it 10 steps past where we could ever imagine, and showing now the ways that you can get those special effects that aren't super easy to do with a screen print, right? Like doing flock with screen print is a full process. Doing a specialty effect, you can't necessarily get a really solid glitter right now out of DTF or reflective material. So having those in your back pocket really, I think, are gonna help people to continue to create. It's a hobby, and we're losing, I think with technology like AI and stuff, even though it's great, we're losing that skill of wanting to sit down and actually craft. We used to think about it as being therapeutic, and now we think about it as a chore, and it's like, that wasn't how it was supposed to be. We've moved too fast down the road, and we're trying to push too hard too quickly instead of just taking it step by step and making this a lifestyle for yourself.
It really should be enjoyable,
Yeah,
right?
that's it, yeah.
If you're running a small business, it's work too,
Yeah.
but like, I don't know, I feel like you should, if you've created your own business, like enjoy it.
When I started out, and I'll call myself out, I started out on the Cricut. That was where my wife and I started our business. She was a stay-at-home mom for like 9 years. And she was just like, hey, I want to find something for me again. I want to contribute back to society. It's great to be here, but I can't talk to kids all day and like not be able to talk to adults. So she was like, you know what, I want to start something. I said, well, what's the hobby? That's where we started. Where's the hobby at? We had a friend of ours that had a Cricut, kind of showed us about it. We ended up getting her one for Christmas or whatever it was, and then after that, she took off with it. But my very first project, actually, in the way that I got started in this industry was her going to ladies' night one night, and she goes, hey, I got this thing called heat transfer. It's already loaded. The cut file's done. This button is blinking. You just have to push the button. It'll cut. Well, I managed somehow to royally destroy that design. So I hop back onto YouTube tutorials quickly because she's that lady's list. I got to figure this out, and I don't even know if I have enough material. I don't know anything about this stuff. So I hop on a few YouTube videos, and I kind of learned how to remake this project that she had. And I had it done by the time she got back, so I was super pumped with myself. But at the next day, it was mine. And like, we started a business, and we've had a business for a long time now. But the thing is my first project was a mandala design in an elephant head. And it was with foil, and I didn't know what setting to put it on, so it was half cut. But I was determined.
Ambitious.
Yeah, I was determined to try this out. And I still have that thing framed because it reminds me that like, this was fun at one point. This was therapy at one point. 100 orders, you were super pumped to get it. Now we all look at it like, oh, I got to do 100 orders now. It's supposed to be. That's why it's a craft, right? And even if you become an entrepreneur, doesn't mean you have to lose the childlike tendency of the craft and the fun, you know? Yeah. And so that's what we're able to show.
Like playing with the special techniques,
yes.
right? Like putting the mesh over everything and playing with that is super fun, especially for me. I love experimenting with different things. Like, what does this do? What does that do?
Yeah.
So that technique is amazing. So the technique for the mesh, do you have it on YouTube yet?
I don't have it yet, but we're very soon we'll put it up.
Do you have a video about the tape style?
No, that's another one. Everybody asked me at the show, they're like, we need to know how to do this. So when we get back, one thing that I would like to do is I think I'm going to put Cortez, because Cortez and I did, we had a video that was on the strip flock layering. So on YouTube, you can learn how to do the faux patch design, which is all this is to start. But I had Cortez break it down, and what we actually did is not only, thanks to Anna, she challenged us, she said, I don't want to see just Leonardo all the time, I don't want to see just the cutters, let's show them in Adobe Illustrator, let's show them in Silhouette, let's show them in Cricut, and let's show them in our stuff, and let's show people how to create these in multiple different ways. So I want to make something like that, but I think we're going to bring Cortez back in for that. He's getting a little bit more comfortable as people are videoing him. You know, he's running the hat station, and these are all his designs too, so like, he's able to talk about it, so as he's getting more comfortable, I'm like, all right, here we go. So we'll bring it back in.
I filmed the technique a little bit on the thing, so I will put it up as a YouTube short for this video live.
Very cool.
All right, so I know, do you have anything that you can share that Siser's doing in the next couple of years, or anything that you can? Yeah,
so I'll give you an exclusive just for this one. I actually held this just for this, and I know you guys know the tool that's coming out. But in the Leonardo Design Studio, a massive, massive ask from our audience has obviously been a vectorizing tool, has been other things that we've been able to put in already. But the next tool that will actually be in there is a rhinestone tool. So we're finally to the point, and I mean, we talked at Wallapalooza a couple years back about this, and I said to everybody, which is great in Patrick fashion, of like, no, end of the year, we're gonna have this. And it just was like a setback after setback after setback, but we finally are to the point where we're bringing the rhinestone tool out. We are beta testing a vectorizing tool in software right now, and we're also adding a ton of business solutions for people in software that will be coming also following in the following months after those launches. Another big one, we don't have the launch date yet, but I'll give you the exclusive here, is that our cutter stand is now done. Officially, it is done. So as soon as that lands over at Siser North America, we're going to be getting those out right away. We already have the video content and everything ready to go for it, so we're really excited about that.
Can you tell us a little bit about the stand?
Of course I can, yeah. So we strategically built the stand, not only, and it's the same way that we built the cutters. We wanted it to be all-inclusive. So, but our stand does not just fit a Romeo. It's very much an easel-style stand where it's a flat table, has pinch wheels in the back that are all movable, so you can move them all the way from 6-inch, all the way up to that 24 or 25-inch material that we have, and that other companies have, 25-inch intelligent material. All right, but with that, you can cut it on that. But we wanted to build the table to work. So there's also cable management. That was something funny that we had talked about, that we had actually talked about, is like one of the problems with a lot of stands, and maybe newer ones that are just launching in Hawaii, no big deal. You know, the cable management is a big thing for people. So we actually have a little porthole where all the cords go. It keeps it away from the actual cutting, keeps it away from the material roll. And then we also built a bunch of accessories. So the cool thing about the stand, and talking about the eco-friendly messaging, every stand was cut out of one piece of material. So that means all of the accessories, all of the legs, the actual top, everything's cut out of one piece, and everything's like a big puzzle piece. There are no screws, bolts, nuts, nails, nothing. It is all brackets, wooden dowels. So we really took that organic feel and put it into the stand. And then because we still are in a world where people might not choose to use a Juliet or a Romeo, they may have a Cricut, a Silhouette. Each of the shelves are strategically made to make sure that they fit other units as well. So not only can you store your material down there, you can move the shelves around to get different configurations, but you can also put your regular cutters that you're using currently. You don't have to buy ours to buy the stand.
And it can hold like 3 machines, right?
Yeah, so it can hold on the top is the biggest one, so you can do Juliet or Romeo. The bottom or the middle shelf, you can get a Juliet or an equivalent machine like a Cricut or Silhouette, and then the bottom shelf will fit all three. The only thing is a Romeo will fit on the top. So we didn't think that forward to be like, oh, we should make this really wide, but we also thought about the footprint in the craft space.
Oh, yeah. Can you explain to our audience really fast the difference between the Romeo and the Juliet?
Yes, yeah. So funny enough, a lot of people ask what's the big difference. There really isn't anything other than the size. So both run at 23.5 inches per second, so they're really fast machines. And for anybody that doesn't know, most of like your Cricut Silhouettes run anywhere from like 11 to like 12, 13 inches per second. So it's definitely a fast machine. Both of them, the Romeo comes in a wider platform, but another thing that a lot of people ask is, can I cut things like smart material on it? Well, our Juliet, even though it's a 12-inch cutting machine, you actually gain 2.5 inches of space because of the way that the head fits into actually houses into the machine. The same with the Romeo, you gain an extra couple of inches on that bottom platform, so you really can cut with anything. Romeo itself, we've also strategically placed all of the little grippy wheels that the actual pinch wheels fall on in very strategic spots to make sure that you can cut anything from 2.5 inches all the way on up to the max that the capacity is. And I mean, the biggest thing that everybody loves is obviously the high definition camera, right? That is why we call it the high definition cutter. We don't have an optical eye to register print and cut registration. Even if you're using things like holographic, we know this is a problem in the industry with other craft companies. So we wanted to just take it a step further and give you something that was going to physically register that registration mark in real time, give you an accurate registration, and that's why we've been lucky to get our print and cut actual contour bleed down to like 0.0001 millimeters. So it's rendered us very accurate, which has been awesome. The Wi-Fi is great too in there, and I know that we did a video on our TikTok, Siser North America on TikTok, where one of our interns, Jack, showed you how to use it as a charger too. So you can use the cutter as a phone charger if you want.
I love the adjustable rollers and the fact that you can cut any size mat list, like even a small scrap.
Yeah.
Like that's sort of my
Yeah,
favorite.
we had one person when the Juliet first came out, they got it, and they were over in the UK somewhere, and they did a video of them cutting a scrap with only one pinch wheel. So literally the scrap was less than an inch, and they cut it with one pinch wheel, and they were able to just get the test cut edge to edge, which was incredible.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's cool too. We wanted to also offer freedom to create as well. So that's why we didn't give you an auto blade technology. We wanted to give you something where you had to physically go back through the craft. You had to physically figure it out. And we knew it was going to be a learning curve. But everybody that's given us compliments or has talked about the software that we've had, even though it's a slow roll, right? It's software. We're developing every single day. The audience has really been what helped to kind of build this software for us. And what they're asking for, we're able to provide. Outside of me saying a rhinestone tool is going to be done in a month from a show, but other than that, we're here now. So that's been really awesome for us in the development.
So talking about the software and like compatible with other cutters, this rhinestone tool. If I was to like do the rhinestone tool within your software, and can I export it?
So that's one benefit of using Leonardo Design Studio Pro. So we didn't want to give a subscription or charge people a subscription fee to say you have additional assets. I don't care if you give somebody 10 million assets. I can go get those from Creative Fabrica, which I already have an account. I can find that font or something equivalent on DaFont. I don't need those. What I need is technology that's going to help me to give me business solutions. So that's one of the big things that we wanted to make sure was in software as well, and not charging people that $8.99 a month fee or that premium for the year, which is also discounted, to say, here, you get more fonts. We wanted to make sure the rhinestone tool is in there. We want to create a great vectorizing tool. That's not grab an image from Google and vectorize one contour line. We want you to be able to break down that image, and that technology or that software knows, hey, this is a full contour behind this back layer. It's not just the remnants of what was up front. Things like the tile array, which has been huge. So for us, we have a floating platform. We don't have a grid that covers the whole software. We have much more like a Silhouette where there's kind of a physical mat, but the cool part about ours is I can change it. So if I want to change the mat for 12 inches by 1 yard, I can do that and physically create my project to a 1 yard piece of material, which helps me with my waste. It's going to allow me to know how much material I'm really actually cutting, and also how many designs you can get. With the tile array tool, it automatically fills up your page after you create your platform, and it will tell you physically how many. So if it's 75 items that you can cut, that means that now you know, and it's making you the professional again, but it's really going back to the basics of the craft and understanding how to scale yourself. But you got to have all that technology, or that information in the back end. You can't.
You're not sitting there laying out 75 different items on it.
Exactly. And also too with the software, one of the big things is like when people ask, we do. We have an open coding platform. So when, I gave you guys the story yesterday of one of our friends in the industry that does screen printing, right? And she said, I need a way to be able to register these layers. Within 24 hours, we had a solution built, and not just a solution to say, hey, we're going to make this in 6 months. It was a solution that was already in software, and I could go to her and say, hey, open up your software, click this alignment mark, and there you go. So that's awesome when we get people to come up and say, hey, this sucks. This is how I like it to be, because we can fix it really quickly. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you so
This
much,
went by
guys,
really
for
fast,
joining us.
actually.
That's
Awesome. Yeah,
That's
no
great.
problem.
Okay,
Of course.
so that's a wrap for Printing United live from Las Vegas, if you can
Las
believe
Vegas,
that. Right, so first of all, if you want to purchase the Pure HT, it's already on the market.
Yes.
And we do have a link for you, so it's link.craftingcamps.com/Siser, and that's SISER.
I like it.
Just
Thank
so you
you.
don't. Yeah.
I love it.
So in our next episode, we are going to be, this is very hard for me to read. Yeah, it's very small. Normally I have my computer open, but we're
We're winging it here.
That's all right. You guys are doing awesome, by the way. You're doing awesome, yeah.
So our next episode is going to be on September 26th, and we're going to be talking about how to choose the best craft market. So with the holidays coming up, we're hoping to give you some options. I mean, a lot of those are already booking, but as you go forward, there's good craft markets and there's bad craft markets, and we want to make sure that you are choosing the right craft market for your type of craft, and that you're not getting, totally screwed in the process, because there are sometimes you'll do a craft market and maybe the organizer hasn't done any sort of promotion, and so nobody shows up. So we basically want to help you choose the right one for your particular craft. So that's going to air on September 26th.
Awesome.
And if you enjoyed this episode and you want to share it with your friends, like you want them to come to Printing United with you next year, then text them this episode right now and tell them to watch. And be sure to, as always, give us a thumbs up on YouTube and give us a rate and review on any podcast platform. We read those and absolutely love them. And that's the best way to support any podcast.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Pat.